say making sure that the parents are part of the planning process, that they're not brought in after plans have been drafted and designed to ensure that their input really does feel like it's beneficial and that it is valuable. When my son started out, I remember his kindergarten teacher at the end of the year coming to me and saying, I realized at the beginning how important it was to make sure that John was included as much as possible in the classroom. And she said, but what I didn't realize is how much it was important to all the other children as well. And so I think that you have to look at the big picture to understand the benefits that can be reaped by having a child with special needs in a classroom. I think that it's beneficial for all that are involved, not just the child. I would say not to discount anything, that every communication is meaningful. I remember getting pictures, sent to me over email of my son interacting in the classroom, and though it wasn't anything out of the ordinary, to me it was everything. And so those moments where the teacher or the support personnel, they may not see it as a significant thing, but to the parent on the receiving end, just that mention, John had a really great day today, or John was playing with so-and-so, or John initiated this, and those are all the aha moments or the things that give you goosebumps, where most children it would just be another, day. But for our kids, I think it's just those little glimmers that you get to see into their daily activity at school really helps a parent, in terms of their comfort level, their comfort with the professionals, and know that there are people there that care about your son just as much as you do. That's really beneficial. I don't think there's ever been an IEP that I've attended that I haven't cried at, and I think you'll find that most parents will echo the same feelings. For the first few years, that cry happened because what I was getting from my team was all the things that my son could not do. All the failures, all the deficits, all of the developmental delays, all of the gaps between him and his typical peers, and it really was a time where that was just sort of highlighted. And it got to a point where it was a really anxiety-provoking event for us. And then I had kind of a meeting and was talking with some of the professionals, and I changed the way that the meeting went, in that I started the meetings and I laid out my vision and my mission for my child. And I laid out all of the positive things that I see him doing on a daily basis. And I asked that my team also present what John is doing. What has he done in terms of he's gone from here to here? Is he more social? Is he interacting with his peers? Is he doing his math? What is he able to do independently? So that, yes, we're looking at areas where there's weakness, but we're not dismissing all of the successes and just concentrating on those areas of deficit. As parents of kids with special needs, we know our children needs the services. And those meetings where that is sort of the message that is really emphasized, we got that. We already know that he's in this setting or this placement. Now, let's hear how we're going to work together in a positive manner to make sure that he's going to be as successful and as independent, which is really the goal at the end of the educational journey. So happy tears now are the result of my IEP meetings. I don't go in there with a lot of dread. Instead, we leave because we are so thankful to have so many people on our team that are there to make sure our son is successful. I have two children that have IEPs, and they're both at opposite ends of the spectrum. I have one who has a special ed IEP, and I have a child who's gifted with an IEP, and those experiences are so different. I wish that the experience that we had with my older son in the gifted IEP was the experience that we had with our special ed IEP, in that Michael is not as much of a challenge, I guess you could say, to the school as John is. And that is communicated in the meetings that we have. And I don't see my son as someone who is not worth the effort. But certainly Michael is effortless and John takes some work. And so making sure that it is communicated that, each child has value in the school system. And the goals that are achieved may not be he's able to do multiplication, but the goals that we have in mind for him are things that he will be needed in his community. He will be valued in his community. He will have friends and people will love him in his community. He'll be able to go and order off a menu. He'll be able to pay for groceries one day. That's just as important to us as being able to do higher level thinking or write an English essay or be involved in a science project that has to deal with the solar system. So different settings, different children, but the environment under which they both learn should look the same on either side, in my opinion, because they are both just as valuable. And that's a message that has been difficult to communicate to the school, and definitely something that we have not felt on the other side of the table as well. Behavior is communication, right? So why did the behavior occur? Was there an antecedent? Was there something that was preceding the situation? To make sure that all sides are evaluated and to make sure that a phone call happens or some type of a meeting happens where the parents can come in and speak as well. This year we've had an incident that's happened where there was an assumption that was made basically, and I received an email without any kind of prior warning or communication that was very scolding, I guess is the best way to say it. That's how I felt. And I just thought, what happened to the open communication? What happened to the give and take? What happened to the person who called me 2 years ago and said, hey, I heard you were concerned about something and I just wanted to reach out and let you know that I found out X, Y, and Z. What's changed in those 2 years where the decision was made not to make that phone call? So communication is everything. Behavior is part of communication. And with our kids, they're telling you something when they're acting a certain way. And we, as we've already said, know our kids just as well, if not more than the school staff. So maybe we would be an important piece to that puzzle to understanding what happened to lead to that emotional outburst or that change in behavior that, warranted a call to the home. Going from elementary school to middle school to high school. We're moving from elementary school to middle school this year. My son has known nothing but his elementary school since he was 3, so that's an 8-year-long relationship that he's had with his elementary school. So proposing a change in services or a cessation of services at this critical juncture is not something a parent is going to want to jump on board with, especially when it comes to behavioral modifications or any of the other ancillary supports that exist, because there's going to be a lot of resistance getting to know a new situation. I would say that communication is key at all times. I have had more issues with parents calling me or asking me for advice because there's a communication breakdown somewhere within the school. It's not this happened to Johnny or this happened to Sue Ellen. It's a lack of communication between the team. And so if I could encourage new educators to do anything starting out, is the more information parents get, the better off they'll be. The less phone calls you'll have, the more satisfied they'll be in the situation and in the services and the education that they're receiving for their child.